Time for some football guys talking basketball, and it didn't go well at Auburn. Didn't
No.
go well at all, Ted. Went and the Sooners got blown out by the number one team in the country, 98-70. There were some moments of hope in that first half.
Yeah.
Displayed some fight in that first half, and in the second half, it just the wheels kind of fell off for the Sooners. My number one takeaway: Auburn's a lot bigger and more athletic than Oklahoma.
Boy, they are big and they are athletic, really good on defense. They hit big shots. The crowd was into it. Everything that you could click off in the favor of Auburn, they had it.
Can we just point out, let's just get this out of the way. Why did the SEC network announcers feel the need to call out OU fans for the home environment at Lloyd Noble? That was strange, right? It happened more than once.
It did, but here's the thing. I can't say they're wrong,
No one can.
you know? Just I mean,
I
we've
just have
watched.
you ever heard an announcer go, "Hey, this visiting team, their home arena needs to be better." Yeah, I was just like,
Yeah,
"Wait, whoa, whoa. We're getting our butts kicked here. We don't need you to pile on, guys. Come on."
right. Taking arrows from all over the place in this thing. But yeah, whenever I first heard it, I was like, hang on, did he just say what? Because, I'm not like super dialed into the play by play always. I'm usually kind of walk around doing stuff around the house or whatever. And yeah, I heard that and I was like, now that's interesting. But I mean, it's one thing if you're at the game and there's not a big crowd there, but whenever you're at a different place and it's mentioned, yeah, that's something. But I mean, we've seen week after week, you're going to a lot of these arenas, and dude, the SEC has some big arenas. There's several that are 19, 20, 20 plus thousand, and they are packed night in, night out. And Auburn was no different.
Sooners fans, you got a chance to prove those announcers wrong on Saturday at 11 a.m. when number 4 Tennessee comes to town.
Need to need a big home environment.
Prove those nerds wrong. But back to the blowout loss. It it just felt like OU was completely overwhelmed in the front court.
Yep.
Auburn's bigs, Broom, Cardwell. Cardwell is the most animated big I've ever seen in my life. His celebrations when he was blocking shots, and I think the guy had like 6 blocks, so good for him. But his celebrations up and down the court were ridiculous. If he was on our team, I would think they were incredible and entertaining. But I was just like, would this guy calm down? But
Yeah.
those guys had a massive effect on the game. Meanwhile, Godwin and McGee did. Let's just be real. Those guys did essentially nothing. They were non-factors in the game.
Yep. Yeah. It it is rare to see Jalen Moore with his athleticism routinely go to the rim and not be able to elevate over guys and get his layups blocked and not be able to get to the rim like he typically does. Because I thought he did a really good job putting the ball on the floor and getting aggressive and attacking the rim. But it is very difficult to finish with that group around the rim.
He's got to learn, in my opinion, my expert basketball opinion, he's got to learn to use his body like when he gets by guys, because he won on the bounce multiple times, went to the rim, and it either got significantly altered or blocked by the guy that was trailing him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to learn how to put his body into guys and to protect the ball as he's going up.
Yep.
It's something you see NBA guys do. Like they win on the dribble and you'll see them lean in. They lean in and create contact to try to get a foul call, but also to prevent that guy from like jumping and using length and athleticism. Like it's something you learn, but Jalen Moore has been so athletic his entire life. There's not many guys that could just trail him like that and block his shot. But it
Right.
happened. I mean, how many times? 3 times, 4 times in the game where it was clear he wasn't used to that situation in particular, not being able to go straight up and just lay it in. So he's
Yep.
got to learn how to adjust to
It's like a
defenders
timing
having
thing,
that
right?
athleticism and creating more contact for himself to protect the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. I, they look like the number one team in the country. I mean,
Yes.
and they had, like I said, the crowd was, because there were some moments where the Sooners were hanging around and they'd put together, some, a couple of really nice possessions, both offensively and defensively. And it was just really hard to extend any runs because the crowd would get into it, their defense would get into it, and they'd come down. I I don't remember exactly when it was in the game, but we had a little something going, and then we turned it over on an inbound, and they hit a three, and then I think they had a foul call. Like it just, as soon as you thought you put something together, they would just snuff it out really quickly. Um, I thought going into the game, if we were going to win, we were going to have to hit a bunch of threes because it was going to be really hard in the paint. And I I wish we would have just fired, like the game plan is fire a ton of threes.
How many times do we have to say it on here? Listen,
Yep.
I know that we're idiots when it comes to basketball.
Yes.
When we're breaking down football, we know what we're talking about. That's why people listen to this podcast. But I don't know how you can come into this game and look at what Auburn has in the front court, the size, the length, the depth. But you look at Broom and Cardwell and you go, okay, we're going to be overmatched there. We're going to lose the battle in the paint. And they did. What was it? 46-20 points in the paint.
Something like that. Yeah.
Coming into the game, you have to be realistic and go, we're going to lose that battle. And you have to adjust your offensive game plan accordingly. OU shot 3 less threes than Auburn. That's just that is not using the math to your favor. And that's why I've mentioned it several times. Like when you are outmatched, whether it's athletically, especially if you're not going to be able to get easy baskets at the rim, which I feel like you could count the easy baskets OU got at the rim on one hand in this game.
Right. Yes.
You got to shoot and make threes. It's just a math problem, dude. You're outmatched in the paint. They've got better players in the paint. How do you counter that? How do you go and win the basketball game? Ted, you're exactly right. You got to fire threes and you have to set up your offense accordingly. And shooting 3 less threes than Auburn, that is not a formula to going and beating Auburn on the road. It makes no sense, dude.
Well, here's the thing. Um, Contrary to what people might think, the Sooners are actually number one, or were going into the game number one in a couple of areas. They're the number one free throw shooting team in the conference. We got to the line a lot. 27 of 29 from the foul line. Check. I thought Forsyth did a really good job finding ways to get to the foul line. It was difficult. I mean, I thought he did a really good job creating some opportunities to score, but it was really hard to finish on those guys. So check on that. Advantage Oklahoma. That's how it should have gone. But then going in, we're the number one three-point shooting field.
No. I like three pointing. We're the number one three pointing team in the country. It's perfect. Everyone knows what you mean.
Number one three-pointing team in the SEC. And I mean, Bryson Goodine, he may be number one in the SEC in three-point percentage. He shot 1 3 and made it. He shot, I mean, I was at the A&M game where he shot 11 threes and made 9 of them. The second A&M game, I don't know what his numbers were, but he fired up a bunch of threes and was a big weapon in that game, shooting the three. he like you have to have him going out and firing. He's too big of a weapon. He can't shoot 1 3 against a team like Auburn if you're going to win. Can't do it.
It's all connected. I'm sure the plan was to shoot more threes. They had a lot of trouble beating guys off the dribble.
Mm-hmm.
And
To getting them to collapse and then be able to
getting
kick out
you
and hit threes.
because if you can't beat guys off the dribble and get both of your feet in the paint and force defensive rotations, you're not going to get nearly as many good looks at three. And also Auburn, and I'd have to go back and study the tape, but Auburn, they probably felt pretty good about not helping off a bunch of the 3-point shooters and letting Broom and Cardwell protect the rim if guys got beat.
Yeah.
And the all the other guys staying attached.
Yep.
But still, with that being said, and I know they were just physically outmatched in the game, you got to shoot more threes.
Starters were 4 of 7 for Oklahoma shooting threes.
That's insane. You also, Jeremiah fears you can't just disappear in the second half. That's another one of, I thought he was solid in the first half, but he didn't have, you remember that demeanor he had in the second half
Mm-hmm.
against Vandy? Where was that guy? Where was that confidence? Where was that swagger? Like, you can't just do it and be that guy when things are going well. You need to, if you're going to be that guy, be that guy.
Yeah. And you could see in the game that Auburn knew he was a true freshman, knew that he had struggled in some time in some games, and then like when he was at the foul line, they were chirping at him. We obviously saw the second half some of the physical stuff that started to go down. Feel like they got in Fear's head a little bit in that game, which that's what veteran good teams do. They try and find a weakness and exploit it, and I think they got in his head a little bit.
Last thing, I think the frustrating thing for OU fans is they've had two opportunities now against Auburn and Bama, and they've just been played off the court.
Mm-hmm.
And now those are two of the top 4 teams in the country right now,
Yep.
or two of the top 3 teams in the country. Auburn's number 1, Bama's number 2, or Bama's number 3. And you get beat 98-70 on the road against Auburn. You get beat 107-79. Now, that was all the way back in early January. But remember, that was the first game off where they started, what was it, 13-0?
Yep.
So you had all of the excitement from the Vandy win, and this is what you get on the road against Auburn. Non-competitive. Uncompetitive? Non-competitive.
Non.
Non. Yeah, that's right.
Sounds better.
It sounds better. You're right. And then you had all the excitement of the 13-0 start. Go to Bama. Let's see what we got. Non-competitive. So it just feels like they're really far off from being on that level.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think that whenever Fears is on, we're a different team. When we're hitting threes in volume, we're a different team. But the repeating problem, sometimes we're able to overcome it and make it to where it's not as big of a factor. But pretty much game in, game out, we do not have the size and the athleticism in the front court to compete. And this isn't a 2025 problem. This goes back a long time where we have not been able to rebound and have the toughness and the physicality and the size in the paint, and which I get it. it's hard. It's like defensive linemen, right? There's not a lot of those guys out there, and the ones that are available are very hard to hang on to. But I mean, you look at it, got Auburn Broom for them, a 5th-year senior that's played a ton of big time basketball. Like those guys are incredibly rare, and we have not had those guys. And in this conference, week in, week out, you're going up against big, athletic, deep front courts. And that's where we lose the advantage, I feel like, every time. And then, it just kind of trickles down from there.
I think that's beautifully said. Makes me sad. That being said, that's a game you're supposed to lose.
Correct.
On the road against number one. You're supposed to lose that game. Do you wish it was closer? Do you wish the margin wasn't so ugly? Of course. But you got to defend home court.
Yep.
A tremendous opportunity with number 4 Tennessee coming to town on Saturday.
The Auburn game, the Tennessee game, the Florida game, I don't know, throw maybe at Missouri, number 15 Missouri in that stretch, but there were some games that you were very unlikely to win. In order to make the postseason, the tournament, it feels like you're gonna have to steal a game that you kind of check off as an unlikely to win. And Auburn is out of the way. That one's gone. Tennessee's the next opportunity, number 4 team in the country coming to town. Unlikely to win, but time is running out. If you want to get to the 20 win number, which you feel like is kind of the magic number where you're in, we had 10 games to win 4. Now we're down to 9 games to win 4. And, you got LSU at home. You have to win that game. No excuse to lose that one. You're at Texas late. You got LSU and Texas are the only teams you play the rest of the year that are not top 25 teams. So, those are the ones that you kind of got to say that we need to win those. And I know it's going to be tough at Texas, but, Mississippi State is going to be a home one. They're a fringe top. They're 22 right now. Kentucky, who looks beatable on the road. All right. They got whipped by Arkansas at home. There's a lot of emotion around that one. And then, I think I didn't see the end of it, but they were getting beat pretty good by Ole Miss. Did they end up losing that one, I guess, right?
Yeah, Ole Miss handled them.
You got to feel like that may be a game that you're going to have to win when you play Kentucky at home. Point is, you're going to have to find a way to win some of these tough games where you're not going to be given much of a chance.
We're starting to get pretty dialed into the college basketball stuff, man. I'm proud of us.
Hey, I've watched more college basketball this year than I ever have. The SEC has been so fun. I don't know if it's just because it's not like the Big 12 is bad basketball by any stretch. I guess maybe the newness, whatever, but I'm having a lot of fun watching all these different games.